Hi guys, this is Food by Faith Garden to Table and welcome to my kitchen. If you are new here, I am Shaka Faith Thompson. I am your Zone 8A Georgia gardener and I love to take you from the garden to the table. So, the last time we cooked together, we were traveling and I gave you some great recipes for traveling where we're gonna do that all over again. You guys know that I absolutely love growing the North Georgia Candy Roaster squash. Well, I am on my last one and I'll insert a picture of it if you guys are new here and you've never seen it before. But what I did was I had it for about 9 months. I cut it. Let me just show you, it's easier. So what I did on yesterday was I cut the North Georgia Candy Roaster and I roasted it in the oven just until it was soft. So what we are going to do with that is we are going to make 2 separate pies if our batter allows. Our first one is going to be a regular North Georgia Candy Roaster pie, and then the second one is going to be a crumble pie, and we're going to use actually this crisp mix for our crumble. Guys, this is absolutely amazing. So if you're in a pinch and you need to do something quickly, this has all the ingredients in it: the flour, the sugar, the baking soda, baking powder, and the cinnamon. So we're gonna make that as well as a traveling seafood pasta. So I went to a restaurant the other day and oh my gosh, on their menu was an amazing seafood pasta. When it came to the table, it was beautiful. As soon as I put my fork in it and tasted it, it was awful. Guys, it was completely bland. The seafood was bland, the pasta was mushy, it was terrible. So what we are going to do today is we are going to make our own seafood pasta. We're gonna put it in our baking dish. Our pies are going to go into a deep dish pie pan. That makes it easier for travel, and we're going to get this show on the road. So right now I already have our pasta boiling. We are using the Barilla pasta. It takes about 11 to 12 minutes to boil. We have our oven preheated at 375, and we are going to start off with our pie. So I'm gonna bring you a little bit closer so that you can see the ingredients that we're gonna use for our pie, and then we're gonna get started, get our pie in the oven, and then continue with our traveling pasta. So the ingredients that we are going to use for our pie today is gonna be our roasted North Georgia Candy Roaster. We're gonna use pumpkin pie spice, fresh eggs from our garden, sweetened condensed milk, and then for the crumble topping, all we need is the crumble topping and 4 tablespoons of melted butter. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get our pie crust into the oven because we want to blind bake that pie crust. And when you blind bake your pie crust, it's simply because you do not want your pie crust to get mushy when you put your batter in it. So we're just gonna dot the bottoms and the sides, and that kind of helps with the bubbling. So you can use a knife or you can use a fork. So I'm not gonna put my second pie crust in. I'm just gonna put the 1 pie crust in right now. And we're going to let that bake for about 10 to 15 minutes. And before we begin to put our ingredients for the candy roasted mixture into the food processor, I'm going to take our noodles off the stove and let them drain and rest. pan, which is why I use such a large pan, the same pan that we boiled our noodles in. That's what we're gonna make our mixture for the traveling seafood pasta. So now we're gonna take our butter. We need 4 tablespoons of melted butter. And we're gonna melt it in the microwave. Guys, if you've never seen a North Georgia candy roaster squash grown, oh my gosh, it's amazing. So we're gonna get our crumble mixture ready. We're gonna put it in a bowl so that whenever our butter comes out, we can take a fork and just mix it up. And it doesn't require any heavy mixing. You're just gonna lightly mix it up. And this is what the crisp mixture looks like. Again, if you wanna make it from scratch, it's going to be flour, brown sugar, cinnamon, and baking soda. But we have this mixture, so we're gonna use it. And it's just as simple as that, guys. I'm also gonna melt about 4 to 5 tablespoons of butter to actually go into our candy roaster mixture. And guys, this mixture, this batter is not, the recipe is not set in stone. So if you have some variations that you would like to do to it, please do so and let me know in the comment section. I love to share recipes and compare recipes. It's all mixed in with our butter. We're gonna set that aside. I'm gonna take a little bit more butter and melt it. While that is melting, we are going to take our roasted candy roaster squash and place it into our food processor. And guys, once roasted, it peels off of the skin really, really easy. And your filling will depend upon the size of your candy roaster squash. So the bigger the candy roaster, the more filling you will have. So this one was kind of medium size. I've had some really, really large ones before. But it's just simple and easy, just like that. And that skin peels right off. What I did was once I roasted it, I allowed it to sit and it steamed the rest of the way, so it was easy to get the skin off. smells really good. Get this into the trash and we're going to get this blended up. So before we add anything else to it, we're going to blend this just by itself. We're just going to give it a nice puree, and then we're going to add the rest of our ingredients. Our pumpkin pie spice, our condensed milk, and our eggs. And it may only be enough batter for one pie, which is fine. That's why I did not go ahead and bake the other pie first. Okay, we have the first puree done. And so now we're gonna add our pumpkin pie spice, just about a tablespoon. If you don't like pumpkin pie spice, you can also just add cinnamon. And I would say just add about a teaspoon of cinnamon. And we have a half cup of sweetened condensed milk. And then our 2 eggs, but we're gonna crack them one at a time. And our 4 tablespoons of melted butter. So what we have in here now is our medium-sized roasted North Georgia candy roaster, 1/2 cup condensed milk. I put in 2 teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice. I said a tablespoon earlier, excuse me for that. 2 teaspoons pumpkin pie spice. And 2 eggs. And we're going to puree one more time. we are done with our second puree. Now we are going to take our pie crust out of the oven. And here you guys can see our second puree. Now I am going to test for sweetness. We do need to add a little sugar. So even though we put the sweetened condensed milk in, it did not add enough sweetness. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit more sugar. Pull you guys back a little bit so I can get into my drawer. And we're gonna add a half a cup of granulated sugar. Just enough to get it mixed in. So we may actually have enough for 2 pies. So we're gonna set this to the side. We're gonna take our crisp mixture. Sprinkle that all over the top. And then we're gonna place it in the oven. And we're gonna set our timer for 25 minutes. All right, guys, we're gonna clean up this portion of the recipe and then we're gonna come back so that we can go ahead and get started on our seafood pasta bake. So guys, we've got everything from our pie cleaned up and our pie is in the oven. It has about 14 more minutes to go. And we did have enough ingredients left for a second pie. So this is how I'm packaging up the second pie. So we have our crumble mixture. We have our pie filling, and then we have our crust. And I'm gonna put everything in the freezer just like this so that when I travel, I can take this whole setup and everything is ready. All we have to do is blind bake the pie crust and then put everything together. And in 15 to 20 minutes, you have a North Georgia candy roaster pie ready to go. So now we are on to our seafood pasta bake. So we are using the same pan that we used to boil our pasta. And remember, we used the penne pasta. So I'm going to put about 4 tablespoons of butter in the pan. We have our green onions. I'm going to use these as soon as I find my knife. I'm going to chop these up, and what I'm going to do, you guys know that I'm a gardener. So this whole part right here can be replanted to regrow these. So we're going to cut these to here. I'm going to set these aside because we can use these for pest pressure in the garden as well as to make new green onions, and I'm going to rinse these. So green onions are not like leeks in the manner where it takes a lot to get them clean. Just a good rinse works really well. And all you want to do is you're going to cut thin slices. And I'm going to throw that into the pan with my butter. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to prep my lobster tails. And it's nothing special. You just have to be really, really careful. I'm going to pull that right out of the shell. And so all the seafood that we have today cooks around the same amount of time. So we're going to put it all in the pan at the same time. And so what we have, be careful guys, this is very, very slippery. What we have is lobster, two lobster tails, a wild-caught salmon fillet, and a pound of South Carolina shrimp. And if you're into making any types of stocks, you can take these shells and use them to make a seafood stock. I'm going to keep the shells and I'm going to use them for compost. So by the time, oh, it's actually 2 small sockeye salmon fillets. And we're just taking them off of this skin. Making sure we get as much of that meat as possible. So this is not a hard recipe. This is a very quick weeknight recipe. And you're just gonna chop up the salmon roughly because you want all the pieces, the salmon, the shrimp, and the lobster, to be similar pieces so that they cook around the same time. Okay, let me wash my hands, bring you in closer, and we're gonna finish this up, get it prepped up, and placed in the oven. Bring you guys in closer. We're gonna get our seafood dropped in. And by the time our pie is ready to come out of the oven, our seafood pasta will be ready to go in. And we're not going to cook it for a long time. We're just going to saute it up just a little bit. And if you are going to a potluck and you don't want to have to bring a dish back, you can use an aluminum pan. But I'm going to use one of my really pretty casserole dishes to place this in. And so once our seafood has been cooking for just a few minutes, we're going to add our coconut milk. And so I am going to use 2 11-ounce containers of coconut milk. We have our grated Parmigiano Reggiano, and I grated this with my food processor. Cracked black pepper, and then our Redmond's real salt. And it's just as simple as that. Quick, easy, delicious. And with the layers of flavor, no one will ever accuse you of giving them a bland pasta dish. Guys, I was just so shocked when the dish came to me. It was so gorgeous. Looking at it on the menu, it was so gorgeous. And I sent one of my friends, Emmanuel Caraway. He's a photographer. And so I sent him a picture of it. And the first thing he said was, "Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful." And I told him where I was. And then he said, "Okay." And I said, "Well, it's beautiful, but it's gross." And he was like, "What?" Now that's a challenge for you to remake the dish. And so here we are accepting that challenge and remaking the dish. So between the butter, the green onions, the salt, the pepper, and our Parmigiano Reggiano, guys, please don't skimp on this. Do not use Parmesan cheese, but use Parmigiano Reggiano. And if where you are, you cannot get a hold to the Parmigiano Reggiano, please use Grana Padano instead. So we're gonna mix that in. Then that penne pasta that we cooked ahead of time. Y'all look at that. It is so thick and gorgeous. Our penne pasta that we cooked earlier, we're gonna place that into our mixture. And guys, once you stir this up, you just place it in your pan and it's ready to go. You can either stop at this step and then go ahead and take your item, put it in your pan, cover it up, let it cool down at room temperature, and then travel with it. Or you can go ahead and bake it in the oven. So for right now, what we're gonna do is go ahead and transfer it to our pan, and we are going to go ahead and bake it off. Look at all of that goodness. All of that seafood, that cheese, that pasta. And then we're gonna top it off with a little bit more Parmigiano Reggiano. And then we're gonna bake it in our oven at 375 for 20 to 25 minutes. What you're doing right now is just melding the traveling pasta together right now. So we're gonna go ahead and place this in the oven. We have 2 more minutes left on our pie. And guys, everything will be complete. So just stay tuned with me as we get everything straightened up, cleaned up. That's our timer telling us that we are down to 58 seconds left on our pie. And things are going to be amazing, guys. Remember, as always, get up, get out, and grow something. Have faith in our food. And I'll see you the next time. Thanks for hanging out with me.